In this tutorial we're going to be learning two different versions of the puff stitch. The puff stitch is a super cute stitch, but it can be a little tricky for beginners, so I'm going to take it as slow as I can. So to make a puff stitch, we first yarn over and then we put our hook into the stitch. Then we yarn over and pull up a loop, and then you need to keep pulling this loop until it's a little bit longer than a normal stitch loop would be, and that's what creates this puff. So I make mine about the height of a half double crochet. Then I'm going to yarn over, put my hook back into the same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop to that same height. Then I'm going to yarn over and repeat those steps again, pulling up another loop to that same height. We've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on our hook. So to finish off the puff stitch, we yarn over and pull that yarn over through all 7 loops on our hook. And then to just complete that top of that puff stitch, we make a chain of 1. And that's the first method of making a puff stitch. I'll show you it one more time because, like I said, it can be a little bit tricky, especially if you're still learning to control your tension. So we're going to yarn over and put our hook into the next stitch. I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop, and I'm going to yarn over, put my hook back into the same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop again to that same looser height as that last yarn over and pull through. Then I'm going to yarn over, put my hook back into the same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. And now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on our hook. So we yarn over and pull through all 7 loops on our hook, and then we make a chain of 1 just to close off the top of that puff stitch. So that's the first method of making a puff stitch. So there is another method of making a puff stitch which is a little bit taller and a little bit neater than the normal puff stitch. So on this sample here, on the first row is the puff stitch we've just learned, and this second row is the slightly taller second puff stitch that we're going to learn. So this puff stitch is worked in the same way as the previous puff stitch with some changes towards the end of the stitch. So I'm going to do my yarn over, put my hook into the stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop to the height I want my stitch to be, yarn over, put my hook into the same stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop to that same height, yarn over, put my hook into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop. And now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 loops on our hook. So this is where the extended puff stitch differs. Instead of drawing our next yarn over through all 7 loops on a hook, we're just going to draw it through the first 6 loops, just like that. And now we've got 2 loops on our hook, so I'm going to yarn over and pull that yarn over through those last 2 loops on our hook. And that is the slightly taller extended puff stitch, and this puff stitch is actually the one that we're going to be using in the Yorkshire Sampler Blanket Crochet Along. That's a crochet along that's starting on the 6th of July. And here are 2 of the squares in that sampler blanket that use puff stitches, and it's also used in the border of the blanket. If you'd like to find out more about the Yorkshire Blanket Crochet Along, then I will pop a link to a video up on the screen and some more info down in the description. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I will see you next time.